We have 161,000 actors nationally that are in the union. Every one of them will have a different story. Everyone will have joined at a different time based upon life choices.
Hi, and welcome to Kelly, where we talk about life, your life and my life, and through Kelly, we hope to inspire. I have Ric Reitz on the show today, and he is the president of SAG-AFTRA here in Atlanta. So, wow, what gold nuggets. We're going to get some real gold nuggets from you.
Well, one can only hope.
One can only hope. So give us a little history about you.
Just very briefly, this is my 42nd year as a professional actor. I started as an amateur 10 years prior to that, so 52 years in, and I'm not young anymore. You're young. You be Kelly Young Silva.
Yes.
And I'll just not be young.
So how did you end up with this mantle on your shoulders with now as the president of SAG-AFTRA?
Well, you know, it's there's always a time in your career to start to give back.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all work hard at trying to get work and improve in our craft. But at a certain point, you realize that some of the advantages I have in life and market is because of my association with SAG, formerly SAG and AFTRA, now SAG-AFTRA together. They've been together for several years now as a joined union. But, you know, I get health benefits, I get pension benefits, they take care of me as far as working conditions and minimum wages and much, much more. And then it became a time to volunteer. So more than 5 years ago, they approached me and they said, would you be the president of the Atlanta region? I said, sure. It's a non-paying job, it's all volunteer, but it's great. I get the opportunity to talk to people like you, like people in your studio audience today,
Yes.
young people, and help them out.
Yeah. When is it good to join the union?
People will very commonly refer to it as SAG eligible, AFTRA eligible. I'll be honest with you, there's actually no such category.
Right.
It just became common vernacular through the years for people to go, well, I've worked enough and on a professional job, so I could join if I wanted to.
Right.
And so the next great question in one's career is, as you've said, is when is the right time to join? For young people just, you know, cutting their teeth, we happen to be in Georgia. We happen to be in a state that is a right-to-work state. And as a result, we can't force anyone to join the union. And I wouldn't want to force anyone to join the union anyway. We want you to make a practical, professional choice in your career. And let me use an example. Let's say I wanted to work for Coca-Cola, and I wanted to spend the next 30, 40, 50 years working for Coca-Cola. Would you take the job if they said you'd get no benefits, no pension, and subpar wages? And you go, that's not quite the attractive job I had in mind. Not that Coca-Cola would do that, they would not. But imagine that were the scenario. And so now that I've got many years in and I start to think about the end of my career perhaps, and you never really have to retire as an actor, but you think about retirement or slowing down, I have always had the ability to be covered with insurance. As a result, I've always had working conditions made safe for me. And better yet, I have 2 pensions. That's like having 2 military careers, and at the end of your military career, on top of Social Security, I have pensions.
Yeah.
I'm going to do very, very well when it's time to retire. You can't do that without being in the union, and if you're a non-union person who thinks you can, you have to be extremely disciplined in how you manage your money.
Right.
So now, getting back to the question, when's the best time to join? The best time to join is when you're out and about in the marketplace and you're starting to get enough work that you're sustaining a career. I will say acting, like music in the early days, is a hard job to have without having a secondary job. It's the only job you'll ever need another job for.
Right, yes,
always.
That's true.
And you always hope, and people will always say to me, they'll say, I'll join when it pays my full-time living. Well, I don't know what that is. A full-time living in New York, a full-time living in LA, a full-time living in Atlanta, Chicago, or wherever it happens to be, different standards of living, different cost of living. And so we know this goes in surges. When does it actually take over your life? If you have a hit in a career, hey, that's fabulous.
Right.
If you score a couple of big commercials or big shows and you can have a long run, good for you. That doesn't happen to most people. We have 161,000 actors nationally that are in the union. Every one of them will have a different story. Everyone will have joined at a different time based upon life choices.
So if I am an actor and I join, that limits me on what I can do as an actor. I've really got to have in my mind that I'm moving
You're
into
moving
a
up.
better market.
Well, we like to say you're moving into a better market that's going to pay you better.
Exactly.
You don't get residuals without a union.
Uh-huh.
And of course, everybody loves residuals when it comes to commercials and more. But as far as moving into that plane and saying, this is the ideal opportunity for me. This is the time for me to leap. I really can't measure that. That is really an individual choice.
Right.
And consult with your agent, consult with your spouse, your partner in life,
Right.
whatever it happens to be. When can you find balance? And you'll know what to do.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's mindset. You've got to have the mindset that I'm stepping.
Well, I'm entering the most competitive realm in the world.
Right.
If you want to be an Atlanta Brave and you've grown up in the minors, but you haven't been an Atlanta Brave, when you get to the Braves level, that's a different game.
Right.
When you get to the supreme level of SAG-AFTRA and international union performers, these are theoretically the people at the top of their game.
Right.
And so to compete at that level, you have to step up.
Right. Right. And I want to stress that because people don't realize that when
Right.
it's not like getting a trophy.
Well, no, and we all watch award shows, and someday I hope you win a trophy. And while that's all great, that's icing on the cake. The career is the craft. It's the art of the craft and the work. And if you can love the work and the pursuit of the work, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do something a little different with
Okay.
you.
All right.
I invited some of my students out
Uh-oh.
and a couple and a couple of parents, and they're actually going to ask you a few questions. So
Great.
this is not something we've done before on
Fantastic.
the show. So
Fantastic.
Questions for Rick.
Okay. Hello, Rick.
Hi.
Okay, so I have a question. As a parent, it has to deal with an agent. If an agent is not SAG, but one of my children did SAG work, and as the residuals are concerned, if we're no longer with that agent, do we still have to pay them residuals? Someone had said to me, because the agent is not SAG, that means that everything is null and void.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Boy, that's a bad answer for you, right? But here's we'll get to the point of it. You're with an agency that's not union, although your son, it's a son,
Yes.
did a union job. Whenever anybody, union or non-union, in a right-to-work state works a union job, they enjoy the protections, even the residuals, and the money scales that I would get. All right? Does he have to join the union? No. Can the agent continue to collect money on residuals? It depends on if you've signed on your child's behalf what they call a general service agreement. Do you recall signing some sort of contract?
Yes.
All right. You have to look into that contract and see what those provisions are.
Okay.
When you're new to the business, obviously you can be taken advantage of, and sometimes you'll sign things that you might wish you hadn't.
Yes.
But as you move along and you've separated from that agency, as long as you've had a technical separation, they theoretically should not be entitled to any more of your residuals. Once again, dovetailing back into that contract. So I always advise people, seek legal advice. It seems nominal because, it's acting, there's standard contracts. They are not. Union contracts are standardized. Non-union contracts are not. So that's what makes it problematic.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, next question.
And I think you may have just answered it, but one of the things you said as far as joining is so that because you said you can't collect residuals. And in this particular instance, similar, our son did a union job, so we collect residuals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because the job was actually
Because the job was union.
and you don't have to be a part of.
In a right-to-work state, and I'll be clear, there are 27 right-to-work states in the United States. If you happen to domicile or live in one of those states and do work in those states, you are not required to be a member of the union to do a union job and enjoy the union protections.
Gotcha.
So once again, if a young man is not union and done a union job and it earns residuals, that young man or young woman or child is entitled to those residuals, and the union won't prevent that one bit, because that's the law. Does that help you?
It does. Second question is, with the actual card, since you said it's not a SAG eligible card, what is the purpose of that card, or what?
Well, it's
not really a card.
There's no card until you're in the union. That's when you can receive a card. We do it in a semi-annual sense. We pay dues twice a year, based upon your percentage of your earnings over that period of time. And every 6 months, they will generate a card and send it out to members. And it's good for another 6 months. So only a member can actually have the card.
Therefore, do you need that? Can anybody just join, even if you haven't worked on a union job? I guess that
No. To qualify, you have to have done at least one union job, and that's what they will call you SAG eligible.
Okay.
So SAG-E becomes an abbreviation of SAG eligible, or AFTRA-E, or SAG-AFTRA-E. Once again, there's no such category, but that's how the language is sort of developed over a period of time. I can join whenever I want to. And by the way, even in a union secure state, you are never forced to join a union. However, in a union secure state like New York or California, the bulk of the work is union, the representation is union, the performers are union. If you're not a member of the union, you're not going to get the good work. But there is one provision. On your first job, they'll do what they call a Taft-Hartley. And it comes from a Taft-Hartley law, which started in 1947. And that entitles you to work the job and assume all the responsibilities and then get all the benefits. And then in a union secure state on your next job, you would be asked to join. If you choose not to join, then you're not going to get that union job. And here's why. Because the producers in the studios will be fined if a person has used up their Taft-Hartley and hire a performer who is not yet a member in another job. They are fined per individual. And they don't want to pay that fine. They can just hire somebody else.
Gotcha.
Good stuff.
Anyone else? Question?
I just wanted to ask you if you can elaborate a little bit more, like when you spoke about your pensions. So when you do join the union, what kind of benefits does it offer? Does it offer medical? Is your dental covered? Can you speak a little bit more and elaborate more about that?
Sure. Our health, we'll divide it into two categories, health and retirement, or health and pension, okay? Easy to remember. You annually qualify for insurance by meeting minimum thresholds of earnings. I'll tell you right now, the minimum is $17,000 and some odd dollars. I don't have the exact amount in my head. That changes from time to time as money becomes more expensive, you know, relative to all other things. But right now you can earn in SAG-AFTRA either a Plan 1 or Plan 2 coverage. The minimum for Plan 2 is $17,000 and change. I believe the minimum for Plan 1 is somewhere around $33,000 a year. And you go, well, that's not that much money, but in show business, it can be a lot of money. It takes time to earn that threshold. But once you've done it in a calendar year's time or a qualification year's time, the following year, you will be covered with health insurance. If you make the minimum for pension coverage, and they'll have a level that they'll dictate on an annual basis that may or may not be the same as Plan B entry. If you make that level, you are given a pension point. Once you have earned 10 pension points, then you are entitled to capture the pension money once you choose and select to retire. So you could have a very, very good year and get a pension point and a health benefit. I've been lucky. I've got 35 pension points as of this year, professionally in SAG and AFTRA combined. And so it works out very, very well for me. And then earning thresholds actually drop a little bit once you've been vested. So believe it or not, I don't have to make $17,000 a year because of my longevity. I can now qualify at some $11,000, $12,000. This year, it changes, it goes up incrementally over time, and slowly you earn these benefits. But if you're not working union jobs, you can't earn those things. So you have to be very disciplined as a non-union performer.
Beautiful, beautiful. So my director is calling time on us.
Oh no, already? We're gonna let's do another segment.
What? Yeah, no, I completely want to have you back, but I have something in mind, so I'll run that past you off air. This is for you.
Ply me with candy.
There you go. To remind you that you're a gift in life. Thank you for giving back. Thank you for being on the show. If you have an advice to give to an actor, what would it be?
Obviously, the harder you work, the luckier you're going to become. This is a business where you can never judge exactly when your next break is going to be. Opportunity knocks a lot, but if you are not prepared, you are not going to be able to answer the knock, if you know what I mean.
An acting tip from Rick.
And an acting tip: when you're doing an audition, I want you to always practice your auditions from another reader 1 to 2 feet apart from one another. Okay? Practice your entire scene, your intensity, 1 to 2 feet, because there's a certain intimacy to the audition. Then I want you to step back 5, 10, 15 feet from that performer, and I want you to deliver the exact same performance as if you had been 1 foot away. That'll help keep you from overacting.
That's beautiful.
All right?
That's beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for gifting us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Guys, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we hope that this segment educated and inspired you.